It's simple, it's really simple, but it's not simplistic. And it's the tension that's created between the art and the science of what we do. And there are lots of arts companies and there's lots of individual practitioners who are changing people's lives by using the arts.
Arts sometimes, you know, is the main heading for a magnifying glass, is go to every personal human being to bring out something that we could go, oh wow. And it takes us away from logic, or it brings us back to reality.
It comes from a really deep place in yourself, and it allows you to connect with other people in a deep place. So essentially it's about the humanity in all of us, and it's a leveller, and everybody can experience something in the same way. So you can sit together and experience a collective emotion when you respond to an artwork, and you can change the world that way, and that's why I'm so passionate about it.
Well, for me, art is proclaiming your identity. I mean, that's what you do. This is me, that's what you're putting it out there, basically. It's all coming from inside, and you're putting it out, that's what it is. It's, I don't know if it's a tool for proclaiming identity, it just is, isn't it? And maybe for somebody else, they can use that thing that maybe I've made or somebody else has made, they could use it as a tool for proclaiming their identity, I guess. Like that guy's got me inside his t-shirt, whoever made this.
I think what the arts practice does is it helps people tell stories. Stories are really at the heart of any art, and there are so many great stories around. So first of all, it helps people tell their story, it helps people share their story, it helps people be creative about how they tell their story. Those stories are part of a community reflecting back on who it is. It's part of looking at things in different ways and solving problems and really having a bit of a giggle at yourself or a, you know, aw shit experience. So I think it brings out all kinds of different things about us and who we are as human beings in a community.
It's about human connections, you know. I think why we come together in arts a lot is because, you know, we have this need to come together and talk together and tell stories together, and, you know, and we grow with that. So yeah, that's very uplifting in its own right, you know, having somebody listen to, look, this is important to me and you're listening to me, and, you know, it's that.
And it's vital, and of course that's what I think engages us all, is when people are involved in the arts and their art practice, and they're telling stories, they're creating work, they're interpreting their environment. It's just, it engages us, sometimes more powerfully than other times. But that's I think why we're all here, in a sense. The art is, you know, is at the base of all of this.
I think people need to be much more articulate about their art, and particularly, unfortunately, with politicians and with all levels of government. And it's just taken us an awfully long time for those people to realise the value of the arts and what it does for community. And they just don't get it in many cases. And in fact, it's the arts that people look for if they're going to work in regional communities. That's what keeps your professional people there. That's the first thing they look for.
Artists are increasingly migrating to regional areas. We don't live here because we've been pushed out. We live here because we choose the lifestyle. And I'm not talking about lifestyle in terms of our sporting facilities or, you know, having the best schools. It's about the community connections that are made through the arts. And that's, you know, I've come back to Alice 3 times to live here, and it's because their connections here are really important. And I just wonder if the bureaucrats actually understand that the soft side of it, that it's actually about the community engagement and community building that the arts have as a power.
Creative industries, the creative economy is one particular slice as well. I mean, I think that actually putting creativity core to culture and who we are, I mean, as part of the human identity and something that is necessary to the human existence, goes beyond any government we've had in Australia.
It's a social investment that we're talking about. Politicians are custodians of funds that come from this society. So their decisions have to be seen as social investments, and we have to be able to articulate an investment in what we are talking about will give greater return to Australian society than investment in other areas.
You can see it in, you know, sort of increased birth rates in babies and increased breastfeeding periods for mothers. You can see it in communities getting together. There are so many ways of judging outcomes that we underestimate, and we're looking for other ways to estimate. But we can't compete with people who have figures, but we can compete with experience if we choose to talk about it in an emotional way, like this film.
There's a lot of perception that, oh, they can do it without any money, because we do, because we're passionate about the arts, and we actually proceed and we put on amazing events and amazing theatre shows, and we do it with minimum resources. So there's a belief that because we can do it with minimum resources, that therefore we can continue to be sustainable that way, and it's not sustainable.
A lot of the money gets sort of consumed by inefficiency, by the bureaucracy, by administration, by clumsy administration. You know, and I don't think it's the fault of individuals. I think there's a system that makes these individuals work in a particular way. They have these jobs, they have to tick a lot of boxes, you know. We don't actually want to tick so many boxes. Of course, there has to be accountability, but there also has to be creativity. And those two things are actually often, you know, in conflict, I think, yeah.
These regional arts conferences are fantastic as a networking tool. Just be able to say g'day to someone, where are you from, what do you do? I think that's really important, that needs to keep going.
Spirit of connectedness, of wanting to do more and better.
This is where things are born, so I see it as a kind of a birthing place for new projects and new ideas that wouldn't happen if you couldn't get together like this.
I've just got inspired for projects and I'm here on behalf of my organisation, so it's really just opening my mind about how I can expand my role and my position in my job, but also it's a really big networking.
I think it is that chance for everybody to come together and go, okay, we're part of something that's bigger than us, in a sense.
My experience over the last couple of days has been there's a lot of dialogue going on, and people are getting me all over the place to have dialogue, so it's a great thing.
I think collective voices are good, but I actually think that change happens one-on-one, one by one. And so if everybody walked away committed to having one more conversation that may well lead up to the policymakers, I think that's probably more, that's a different approach, but I think an equally powerful approach. It's like throwing the stone in the pond and the ripple effect.